Hiya, welcome to Tinted. Today we're going to be doing some bottom loading tinted windows on a door glass. Now loads and loads of people keep asking me about bottom loading. Now I've explained this in other videos, but basically bottom loading, all it means is putting the tint down onto the glass first. Literally putting it down in there, getting it past this point, and then sliding it up to the right position. Top loading would be getting the tint on the top edge of the glass first, winding the glass up and putting the tint down. Now, top loading is very, very common for window tinters to do, especially in places like America and all this sort of stuff. And the reason it's so common is because you don't have to take off the door panel to do it. The drawbacks of a top load is it's almost impossible to get the tint on that edge here and tuck it behind these pillars and wind it up and then get it down there just past the rubber gasket without contaminating it and without creasing it. Obviously on YouTube, on videos and all that sort of stuff, it doesn't pick up the minor detail. So you see these videos of top loaders and you think, yeah, that looks good, that looks right, he's done a good job, he's done a professional tint. Unfortunately, a couple of days later, when that tint dries out, especially to the naked eye, it's not going to look great. With bottom loading, you can get the tint very easily on the glass to a professional standard, except a lot of people don't like taking the door panels off. Well, let me show you this. Firstly, we need to remove the rubber gasket on the inside. Now, nowadays, lots of videos where you need to take off a door panel will be on YouTube. So if you've got a certain car, say it's a 2012 5-door Focus, and you need to take off the door panel, and you go on YouTube and you type in 2012 Ford Focus door panel removal, there will be a video there somewhere to talk you through these steps. But what's even better is these days, a lot of the door panels are actually just clipped on the top, which means that they're not sat over the rubber, which means we can just release it. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So, this strip here, this door panel here, is just slightly rolled over the top. So how do we get that rubber strip off? Simply, that's good enough now. Now I've got access to this rubber. So I'm going to wind down the window. Which will give me access to this rubber strip here. Excuse me while I find my tools. Should have been a bit prepared. I'm just going to take something like that. You see? I'm going to go in and I need to rubber strip out. So I've just went underneath and I've levered it. And because the door panel is sat on top of the rubber, it does mean that you've got to sort of pull the door panel back as you're pulling this out. And here it is. That's the whole reason we need to take door panels off, these rubber strips. Fortunately for me now, I didn't have to take off anything. And now I've got this gap, this 1-inch gap. See? It's as easy as that. So the next part, let's cut the tint and get this on. Now I'm only going to do this very quickly. Let's just turn an angle for you so you can see a bit better. I am going to spray the glass on the outside. I'm going to get my tint and I'm going to put the tint on the outside of the glass with the liner facing me. You see that there? The liner is facing me. Okay? I'm going to unravel the tint so it's on the glass and I've got plenty side to side. What you don't want to do is try and be a little bit too stingy with the tint. Cut it off the box and then realise that the tint that you've cut off isn't quite big enough. What I need to do now is I need to get the bottom factory edge of my tint to be between at least 1 centimetre, preferably 2 or 3, below that rubber gasket there. I'm going to get my knife. I'm going to find the rubber pillar. I'm going to get my knife in and slide down. And I'm going to rip away. I'm going to grab this tint and I'm going to pull it 1 centimetre over, 1 centimetre. I'm going to find the other side and I'm going to cut down, ripping away. And then I'm going to slide back 5 millimetres, half a centimetre. So what are we left with? We're left with half a centimetre here and half a centimetre here and 1 inch past that point there. Now I don't know if you can see this, I don't know how well this camera's picking this up, but there's a big finger, a side finger there. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that in a second. But for now, I'm locking the tint down. I'm not applying anything yet, I'm just with my card pushing the water out so the tint won't move now. This is a 30-inch roll, which is deliberate because this offcut here is going to do the quarter behind it. So we'll save that for that window in a minute. We are going to turn on the ignition, lift the tint up so when we wind the window down it's not going to snag, and we're going to wind it down a bit. That should give us access to this side of the edge here and this side here. Now some windows, some doors are square or rectangular and you'll only have to cut the top edge. If it's a window like this, you're going to have 2 edges. You're going to have the top and then you're going to have the side. So I'm going to get my knife, start on the top at the edge. I'm going to enter the tint with my knife above the edge of the glass and I'm going to drop in and slide. Simple as that. When my knife falls off the glass, we've finished that edge. Now on this window we have 2 edges, so we're going to start again. I'm going to enter the tint above the glass, drop into it, and with 1 smooth motion, slide my knife along until it falls off the edge. What we are left with now is the shape of the window tint minus these tabs. So between the side and the top, and the other side and the top, and the side and the bottom, and the side and the bottom. All we need to do now is take this over to our cutting area. I'm going to turn you around like that. We're going to grab a straight edge. And all we're going to do is line up our straight edge to the straight edges of our tint, and we're just going to connect the lines together. For a more added professional application, you could slightly round off the corners so you haven't got a delicate point. I'm just getting rid of all the delicate points. I'm chopping triangles off the bottoms until it reaches a curved shape. I'm nearly finished with this. And again, I'm just joining up my straight lines and then cutting off the points. Now this window's ready for the next stage, which will be to wind this window back up, spray the glass again, get our finished product, our cut bit of film, and we're going to put it back on the glass, except this time we are going to be too high and too far over one edge. You see that? Let's have a look. We are too high and we are too far over one edge. You see, that's where the edge finishes, that's where my tint finishes. The reason is because I want 2 straight edges. I'm going to lock down the side and I'm going to lock down the top. Being careful not to crease the film with this side. I don't want to dig the tint in where the angle is. I just want to card next to it. And what we've done is we've carded a shape like that. like a lowercase n, N for November. What we've basically done then is we forced any fingers, any parts of the film that isn't sitting flat on the glass to pop up. But we want that to pop up at the bottom because we cannot heat shrink tint to the sides of it. We can only heat tint to the factory edge. Now there's another reason that we wouldn't want to heat these fingers to the top, and it's because obviously we've cut that shape and we want that shape to be exact, and if we start heat shrinking this top edge, it's going to distort the shape of your cut edge. So we want all the fingers to be at the bottom, not the sides, not the top. Don't know if you can see that. Finger, finger, sort of a finger. Right, there it is. Next thing I'm going to do is get the heat gun. And we're going to heat down these fingers, forcing the film to fit the curvature of the glass. So when we get to the bottom, we're not going to have any issues. Make sure your heat gun is on the hottest setting, being careful not to burn the car. And that's done. That now is heat shrunk to the curvature of the glass. Now for an easier installation, I am going to take this tint off this glass, on the outside, sorry, and I'm going to turn it upside down. Now watch this, a lot of people get confused here. When I'm turning this upside down, I am not turning it back to front. I'm keeping this side, which is the glue side, the liner side, facing me, and I'm just going to spin it 180 degrees. I'm going to get this tint and I'm going to put it on the panel behind the window that I'm doing. So I can open up this window here and I've got this tint upside down on the wing behind me. Let's have a look. Now, for when I want to peel off the liner, I don't want to accidentally peel the tint off and it falls on the floor. So I'm just going to lock the tint to the car for better stability. I'm now going to clean my glass, providing that this glass is reasonably clean, hasn't got lots of sticky marks and everything else. I'm going to sort out the electrics of this car. Excuse me for 1 second. Modern cars, they turn the electrics off automatically, and then sometimes you find it hard to start. I don't want to start the engine, I just want to turn the power on. Okay, turn the engine on, never mind. I'm going to wind this window down so I can see the edge here. Spray it up. Don't worry about getting the door panel wet, it'll dry. And I'm going to need my squeegee, my conqueror, my sponge, my bottle. Spraying the glass and then spraying the sponge, white sponge, a non-scratch sponge. You're just going to give it a bit of a scrub. Use my squeegee, I'm going to squeegee the water to the edges, or the bottom, whatever you want. Add thin mine to the edges. Now you've got to remember that if we have scrubbed any dirt off the glass, that dirt is now floating on the water, which means the window is still dirty until it is dry. some paper towel, wipe that top edge, and wind the window up. Get the bottom done. And squeegee that dry. When I say dry, I mean bone dry. You don't want to see any of that water. You see any of that water left behind in the glass? It means there's still dirt on the glass. I'm going to wind the window back down just a little bit, just so we can see the top edge of the glass. I'm going to grab another bit of paper towel, and we're going to dry the glass. It's nice, smooth motion. Don't scrub it. You're going to get lint all over the glass. Now this bit is a bit controversial, but this is how I work. So I want this window to be wet because I want to tint the window and I need movement. Now, all tinters make the window wet. The way I do it is I like to have a flushing type system. I want all the water to be very heavy, like a waterfall, and I want it to run down. Don't worry about the electrics, as long as you're not spraying directly on the electrics. If you spraying on the glass, the water will run down the drainage system, the drainage channels, and it'll just be a big puddle on the floor. But I want to make sure that all my water not only makes the glass wet, but flushes any minor contaminants off the glass. Being careful not to hit the top edge of the glass, because there'll still be some contaminants sat on that top edge. I'm going to spray my window past the pillars, being careful not to hit the top edge. And I want my water to be very heavy. I want this water to run all the way down the window. So any sort of particles of dust that were sat on the glass are now run off. I'm going to spray up my tint because some dust could have fell on the liner. I'm going to find the liner. I'm going to pick, spray, spray, spray. Pick, spray, spray, spray. Until I separate the liner. And I'm going to spray as I go. Making sure you've got no dry patches. And now, I'm going to grab the tint, which is currently upside down. And this is bottom loading. I want to grab my film and go in this bottom left-hand corner first. Diagonally down. Holding this part off. Diagonally down. All the way. Be careful not to crease the film by accidentally going down into the side pillar. We don't want to go into the side pillar just yet. Now I've got the tint on the top of the end of the glass. I'm going to slide towards that pillar. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to start to put the tint onto the glass, being very careful not to touch anything else but the glass itself. My hands are making this spreading type motion as I push the glass out of the car. Making a spreading like motion and then sliding in. Lovely. Just making sure that the tint is nice and flat. I've got no fingers going to the edge. You can't hear any peeling, And now, lastly, not lastly, but almost, I want my tint, my edge of my tint to follow the edge of the glass and just come down 1 millimeter. Like that. I'm now going to squeegee very, very gently. The reason I say very gently is because it's just been applied. There's a lot of water sat between the glass and the film, and it'll just be moving around. So very, very gently, with my thumb on the glass, on the tint, so if it does move, I can feel it, as well as see it, and I'm just very, very gently going to push that water out. Now if it has moved, you've only given it a gentle squeegee, so you should be able to move it back to the right place. I'm going to get my contour, and I'm just going to get them water down from the sides out. One. And there's two. Now what you've got is you've now got this like 3-4 minute period where you don't want to squeegee this window. The reason you don't want to squeegee it is because you're going to have to put a bit more pressure on now to get all the water out. And if you do that, it's just going to move. And sod's law, it's going to move and then it's going to stick in the wrong place, okay? So what you can do now is you can be doing it to the other side, you know? Ideally, you would have rolled the door panels off both at once. You would have cut both windows at the same time. Cut that one first, then that one over there, then you clean that one there, you clean that one over there, you lay this one just like I've done, and then you'd lay that one over there. By the time you've finished laying it, you can come back. Hopefully that'll be enough time passed that you can squeegee this out. But I'm not going to do that one just yet. That's, you know, the video will be too long. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to put you on pause for like 2 minutes, and we're going to come back when this is starting to tack a bit. See you in a sec. Okay, so it's been sat for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to come over, give it a bit of a wiggle. It's not moving. It's not going anywhere. Great. We're going to lubricate the tint, wipe our blade, and not too hard, but a lot more pressure than before. We're going to squeegee the water to the sides, starting at the centre, pushing out, overlapping squeegees. One more time. This time firmer than the previous two. No point trying to go too far down because we need to wind the window up in a minute anyway. Get the card. Conqueror, sorry. Get out the water down the sides. Lastly, get a bit of tissue. Wipe off any excess that's sat on that top. Now we can wind the window up. Lovely. We can. Squeegee. Squeegee down. Now we haven't really got to worry about any fingers popping up from the bottom because we already heat shrunk it. I have, however, got a little part under here which isn't tucked in. So I've just peeled it back and pushed it back in. Now that's very rare it's very rare that should happen to me, but Volvos are quite tight down the sides. Squeegee down the bottom, grab my conqueror. And get down there. Using this one for good measure, but it's not as flimsy. The conqueror's got two edges, a thin flimsy side and a thick rubber one. Ideally you want to use the rubber one, but this car's so tight that if I try and fit this thick rubber part in there, it's just going to crease. Now, although I did heat shrink it, a couple of little fingers have popped up, which is nothing to worry about because I know it's not going to be very big. So I can get my heat gun, push it with this time a bit of tissue covering the card so it doesn't scratch the film. I'm going to push that down to the factory edge, to the bottom. Now they've went on their own, but just so they don't pop back up, I'm just going to give them a bit of heat. That window is literally finished. Obviously, what you should do is clean it all up and have a good look. Have a good look, make sure there's no hairs or excessive contamination. Nothing like that to worry about, no creases. But I'm going to assume that that's absolutely fine. So, what you should never do, you shouldn't wind the windows down for the first 2 days of tinting it. Except I want to put this rubber strip on, so I've got no choice. Down the window goes. This rubber strip back in. The felty side towards the glass. Make sure it's in the right place, pushed all the way down. Now, I don't know if you remember, but at the start I had to unroll this to get it off. So now I simply just need to roll it back. Lift it up, roll it back. Now it's literally back on, just like it was before we started. Wind the window back up, check everything's okay. Yes, it is. Wipe the window on the outside clean so we can see what we're doing. Just going to dry off the window a little bit so you can see a bit better. And that window is done. Now that took me 26 minutes. Ordinarily it would not take that long, but I had to talk through and everything else. I think I could get both of those doors done in about half an hour. Right, let's have a look.